Hello and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody this evening? I hope you're well. I hope you've had a good day painting your minis or playing your games. So tonight you join me on another Tabletop Tuesday, and this evening we're going to be playing a game of Oligarchy from Entropic Games, and quite uniquely we're going to be playing against the designer Gary Wareham, who will be joining me live via Discord. So it's going to be an exciting game. Hopefully going to learn lots about the game as we play. I'd like to welcome Gary Wareham, the designer of Oligarchy, to the stream.
Hello everyone, all right, glad to be here.
Excellent, thank you very much for joining us this evening, Gary.
No trouble whatsoever.
So then, Gary, for anybody who is not familiar with Oligarchy, do you want to just give a quick overview of what the game's about?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we formed Entropic Games back in 2016, and we decided for our first release we'd go very bold and try and design a dystopian future card game, which is, it took a little while. It took about 2 or 3 years to make, and what it does is it pits you against other oligarchs. An oligarch is somebody who's very powerful in a certain faction or area. And what happens is you need to basically defeat your opponents by removing their power base, because you're a very powerful person. So rather than having life points or anything like that, actually what you do here is you just turn somebody into a meaningless nothing by removing all their power through your clever attacks and strategies that you can put together with the various cards that you can find in the core set of Oligarchy.
So did you want to just give us a quick overview then of how the game sort of plays out?
Absolutely, yeah. So what will happen is every turn you'll be playing cards from your hand. The two sort of staple currency cards, if you like, are called Affluence and Influence. It's all color-coded and makes it a lot easier to see what you're doing when the table gets a bit crowded. The Affluence and Influence you will be building throughout the game, and then, so imagine your status a bit like a bank. So each turn you'll be adding more and more to your bank, and that grows each turn. And then you'll be spending those points to deploy cards from your hand during your deploy step, and then using them to do various and nefarious things to other people.
So I think the best thing for us to do is just to get started, isn't it, really? And we'll maybe explain the intricacies as we go along, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now, just for my brain to be able to keep on top of everything, what I'm going to suggest is I will let you go first, and do you mind being crime and corporate, because you're right in front of me here, and then I will do...
music to my ears.
Is it? Okay, fair enough then. All right.
I was hoping you'd say that.
All right, well then, so the floor is yours. You just tell me what you want me to do, and I will be your hands to do it.
Yeah, so firstly, when you first open the decks from the pack, they will need a really good shuffle. So I don't know if you managed to give them a good shuffle
I've done that already, all prepped.
Wonderful. Yep, so then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw 8 cards from the top of my deck, and that will form my starting hand.
6, 7, 8.
So what you'd usually like to see in your starting hand is a couple of Influence and a couple of Affluence cards as well. In Oligarchy, you do have the option to redraw the first 8 cards if you don't like what you see. I'm going to stick with what I've got. It's dangerous because I might not get any Affluence for a couple of turns, but I've got enough Influence there to start doing some good stuff. So, and then we go through the order of the phases. So we call it the triple D. So it's very easy to remember. So it's draw, develop, deploy. So if we start with the draw phase. Now, in the first turn, in a one-on-one game, the person who goes first does not draw. And that's just to keep the game in balance because we're getting the first attack later on down the line. So in this case, we will skip the draw and then we will develop. So to develop, you lay down 1 Influence or Affluence card. It's your choice, but only 1. And you just pop that sort of somewhere at the back line out of the way. And then what you do, the mechanic is you then add to your status dial the amount of Affluence or Influence cards that you have. So in this case, I've got 0 Influence and 0 Affluence, obviously. And I'm going to add 1 because I have 1 Influence card in play.
Right, there we go.
That's it. So then as an oligarch, I'm just starting out, if you like. I've got a few mates, but I've got no money, so I'm not going to be very powerful at this point. I should stress as well, the fun of this game is mainly in the narrative. It's more in the stories that you can tell and the horrible things that you can do to each other. And I think that's what keeps players coming back for more. Is good fun.
We have added your influence. What's next then, as far as proceeding with the game?
Actually, oddly, this turn, it's the first turn, not a lot happens. So I've added in my influence onto my status dial. There's nothing in my hand that I can actually play at the moment. Like I said before, I might have been able to play the stockpiled assets if I'd drawn an affluence card, but I didn't. So I'll just have to hold on to that one. So I just pass the turn over to you.
All right, so I'll put your deck down there, and I now draw up 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can put down an affluence, so I will increase my spinner by 1.
Yep.
But again, I have cards, but I obviously don't have the values to be able to play any. So
yeah, that's quite common.
It will pass back over to yourself then. Okay, so
cool.
I assume that now it's a draw a card for you.
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, and you get an influence card.
Oh, great. So I'm going to show you what we do here. So people watching that are fans of games like Magic the Gathering might be familiar with this concept. So sometimes you can get an overabundance of one type of resource, but not the ones that you need. And that's something that frustrated us as game players before we designed Oligarchy. So we said, what we're going to do is the actual influence and affluence cards themselves can be discarded to draw another card to help cycle through your deck much more quickly. So we now need to develop. So if I could just lay down an influence, please.
Yeah, so that goes down there.
Yep, I now have 2 influence cards in play. So that means I'm adding 2 to my current influence total. So that will take the dial to 3.
Okay, excellent.
So now I've got the option to play my extort card.
Yes, so
I'd like to do that.
Extort. So should we put that there? Is that, we know it's in play?
And so to put that into play, that's what we call the deploy step. So I've deployed a resource, which is my ability to extort people, which will give me affluence when I need it. But to do so, I then have to pay for it by removing 2 influence from my influence dial, because the card costs 0 and 2.
There we go, down to 1.
Perfect. And that's my turn. Oh, right. Now, this is the bit. So at the end of your turn, you have what we call the discard phase. It rarely comes into play, but it's going to now. So I'd like to take the influence card that's in my hand.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just chuck that one into my discard pile.
So we're just going to, that's the dead pile there. All right.
Yeah, we call it the history pile because it's what happened in your past. So, and that says I may discard that to draw another card. So that allows me to draw a card, and let's hope it's affluence.
And it's a revolver.
It's a revolver. Okay, I'll take that. That's a good card to have.
Okay. So I guess it's over to me then?
Absolutely, your turn. So we start off by drawing a card.
Draw a card. I get an influence card.
Lovely.
But what I'm going to do then is I'm going to play that influence card.
Yep.
So now I increase my influence by 1, but I also increase my affluence by 1.
Yep, because you've got one of each is still in play. And when I teach new players the game, I normally say, think of it like you're getting a pay rise every turn you play one, and that's just all going into your bank. So you'll get rise after rise as you rise to power.
I will just pass the turn over to you then.
Okay, so I'm thinking my extort card is going to help me when you play more affluence. So I can keep that one in the bag and just keep drawing cards here. So if we start the turn by drawing a card.
Okay. And you get an affluence card.
Hooray! Right, so that will go into play. I suggest placing the affluence to the left of the influence cards, just so nothing gets messed up later on. So now, so we'll add those numbers to my dial. So that will add 1 to my affluence total and 2 more to my influence total.
There you go, 1 and 3. All right. Just to remind you, you've got Vial of Disease, Stockpiled Assets, Substance Peddler, Trustworthy Bartender, Contract Writer, and now the Revolver.
Right. If I may, please, I would like to play the Stockpiled Assets, because that's going to start paying dividends.
Okay. That in there, and that's going to cost you 1 affluence.
Yep.
It's down. There we go. Okay, so Snowyak's asking what the card does. Stockpiled assets. So it says here, stockpiled assets come into play with 2 counters on it. You may add a counter to stockpiled assets at the beginning of your development phase. When stockpiled assets is sold, you gain AP status equal to the number of counters on it.
It is really good, and in this situation it's worked out perfectly because I can extort and steal money from you and then I've got my stockpiled assets in my corporate warehouse. So, I'm biding my time, and hopefully we'll get to see some action on this next turn. So there'll be some characters coming into play.
Snowyak's saying, it's a piggy bank.
Exactly, yeah, it is a piggy bank, yeah.
Okay, over to me then?
Yes.
Okay, so I will draw up a card. I get a guru. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my influence card. And so now my affluence goes up by 1 and my influence goes up by 2. So I'm 3-3. So I'm going to play the cleric, which is
good choice.
2-2 on affluence and influence. So long as I've got a power base in the religious faction of 3+, the cleric, each opponent loses 1 AP status. Each player must draw a card.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's very good because you're harming your opponent's affluence totals because he's quite cheap, like only 2-2 in his cost. That means you can do that quite early and start to sort of subdue your opponents. The only disadvantage is that everybody gets to draw a card. So it does give you a huge advantage, but your opponent also gets some of that advantage. If you were to play that ability on me now, because my affluence total is 0, I just don't lose anything. You can't go below 0. So it wouldn't be the most powerful effect, but it would help, for you to replenish your hand and draw more cards. So with characters, so we've done our deployment. Now with characters, you have a choice. You can either use the ability if you have the prerequisite amount of power base, or you can attack, but you can't do both. And that's where a lot of the strategy of Oligarchy comes into play. So it's down to you.
So in this instance, as you pointed out rightly, there's no advantage to using his ability to knock down your affluence. So I might as well take a cheeky pot shot at you.
Absolutely, that's what I would say. Yeah, absolutely. So, sock it to me. Yeah.
Yes, he'll go on in for the attack.
Yeah. So this is cool. Now, in other games, they have mechanics which might require you to turn the card sideways or to tap it and things like that. These are terms that these sort of games have. We don't do that in Oligarchy. So you can attack with him and you just declare it. Just some people like to push it forward slightly and say, I'm attacking with this or that character. Because then you can use them to defend yourself later. So there's never any harm in attacking. If your opponent is wide open, hit them and hit them hard. Never hold back. The cleric, he can do 1 power-based damage, because remember what we said, the green circle at the top right of the card means that you can deal 1 damage, but the cleric himself can take 1 damage before he's defeated. So you're going to attack me. So as the defender, I have a choice. I can take that damage on either the crime or the corporate faction, and you're starting to debase my power. So if I may, please, I'll take the damage in crime.
Okay. So I'll knock that down, and you're down to 5. Okay, we'll just slide him back. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the quality of the game throughout, and as Sarah's just pointing out, she's saying she likes the art on the cards, likes how clean the black and white sides look. And yes, I think as you described at the beginning of the game, it's the sort of the narratives that are a part of the play of cards, and the illustrations add to that so much. They are really, really nice pieces of artwork on all of these cards.
Yeah, I was going to come to that a bit later actually, but now you mention it, the art team are absolutely incredible. There's some really good local artists. A couple of them are good friends of mine as well, who just pitched in to help, So we've got Vince Whitaker, who's brilliant. Lee Fowler down in Bristol, she's really good. Stevie Hunt down in Portsmouth. Alan G from Brighton, that's where we're from. And Thing Doer from Brighton as well. He keeps his name secret.
Right.
So you'll notice on the art credit, he calls himself Thing Doer. So I thought that added a little bit of mystique to what he's up to. But they're all really good people. I've met a lot of the local artists. And then we have a huge art team across the globe. So on our website, there's a whole section dedicated to the artists. Any artist that's watching tonight, thank you so much. You've been brilliant. And you really helped bring the game to life. So that was really good. So it'll be my turn. So let's draw a card.
Draw a card. You get flash money.
Yes. Now that's what I like to see. That's good.
So I'll just read out what it says. You may resign flash money at the beginning of your development phase to gain 2 AP status.
What I'd like to do now is, I haven't got any affluence or influence left in my hand, have I?
No, you've not, no.
Exactly, so I can't lay any, but that means I still get to add them. So I get to add 1 affluence and 2 influence.
So you're now at 1 and 5.
So here's what we do. We've got 3 counters on that. I'm going to enter my deploy phase. When you sell items, there's one tiny little rule, and that is you can't sell an item the turn you played it, and you can only sell items in your deploy phase. So when you're doing your main, playing cards and selling cards, it all happens in the same deploy step. So now we've entered that deploy step. If I may spend 2 influence.
Okay, so that goes down to 3.
Yep, and that will fulfill the sell value of the stockpiled assets. And then we'll chuck that away and all the counters away, and I get 3 affluence.
Okay, very good. To 4.
Yeah, so now I've got 4 and 3. I can be a bit more of a force to be reckoned with. I need to get some defense now, because otherwise that cleric's going to keep bopping me on the head. So the substance peddler is really good because he can attack the cleric directly. Now, when characters fight in combat, they will do damage to each other simultaneously. So say, for example, I was to attack you with a substance peddler, and you defended it, which is your choice, but you defended it with the cleric, they would kill each other in a kind of fisticuffs style brawl, and then they would both be removed from the table. So the substance peddler is not a good choice at this moment. I'm thinking perhaps the trustworthy bartender is my best option, so I'd like to deploy that if I may.
Okay, I'm just going to move that, just going to put the characters sort of along parallel to one another. So let's read it out. So it's +2 on the passive. If the trustworthy bartender is attacked or assigned as a defender, flip a coin. If you win the flip, the trustworthy bartender gains 1 power base this sphere only. Ooh, that's quite neat.
So he can become a very strong defender in a 50-50 shot. What we liked about the narrative of this card was he's called trustworthy, but you have to flip a coin because he will stab you in the back because he's a crime character after all.
Yeah.
And then if we could just remove another affluence, because I'd like to also deploy my flash money as well. So I'm going to need that next turn, I think.
Okay, and there's flash money. So
wonderful. Okay, so that's my turn over. So it's your go.
Okay, I will draw up a card. I get Alan the Abductor. That terrifies me. Resign Alan the Abductor and another target non-Illuminati card.
Yeah, so he's really good. He doesn't harm Illuminati people, but he is absolutely mental, and he will take any character of any strength, even a faction leader. You resign him, and then any character you choose is also gone with him, and they never to be seen again, either of them.
That's very dark. Very dark indeed.
It's very good.
But before we deal with that, I have to increase my affluence by 1 and my influence by 2.
So yeah, to keep the advantage, you could deploy Alan and then use him to remove the bartender. They'd both go, but then the cleric's free to keep hitting me.
Well, that's good, yes, because that's what I was thinking. But I think Alan's too strong a character to use it in that regard. So what I'm going to do is play a priest.
Very good.
So we'll put him on in to go to the bar.
That's it.
So that's
this is a weird bar.
1 and to there.
It's almost turning into a crap joke, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Cleric and a priest walk into a bar.
So do you want to explain then how this works out? Because this is effectively now 2 characters essentially ganging up on one.
So There's something else to explain as well. So if we come back to the combat in just a second,
Sure.
you've now laid 2 characters, so they've been deployed on your side, and they both share a faction, the religious faction. If you can, and this is hard in a 2-player game, but I'm hoping we'll see it. If you can get 3 characters of the same faction into play and attack with them all, rather than use their abilities, you will activate your faction's super move, which is called a power play. Now, I didn't mention it until now because sometimes it's not relevant. But if you look on your religious spinner,
let's bring this up.
The text at the bottom will say religious power play, and it's called Enlighten.
And it's now saying
There we go.
Target player must draw 3 cards. This is what you were referring to before, wasn't it?
Yeah, so now power plays are insanely powerful moves. It's very difficult to get 3 characters of the same faction in play and attacking. Trust me, it's not easily done. But if you can, you will get that benefit for free. There's no cost. But yeah, so getting back to the matter at hand. So you have a priest and a cleric.
Yep.
Now the priest is very, very cheap. Only costs 1 and 2, but he has no abilities of any kind. He's just what we call a blocking character, a 1 damage character. You can attack with both or 1, it's your choice, but when there is combat you can only attack your opponent unless a card specifically states it can attack characters. So if you attack me with both, I can choose to defend one of them. It's 1-on-1 combat with the bartender, and then I'll get the option to flip my coin and see if I can gain a temporary power base so that my bartender won't die, but your character will, because they'll take 2 damage. Yep.
So I'm using the cleric's passive ability to have taken down your affluence, but I'm just going to use the priest to come on in and attack you, assuming that your bartender is going to try and defend.
I will, but because abilities happen before attacks, we must fulfill the whole part of the abilities description. So we will both have to draw a card now before any defense is chosen.
Okay, so I get an enthralled servant.
Oh, nice.
A lovely piece of art there. That's great.
Yeah.
And you are going to get an affluence card.
Hey, that works for me. I couldn't have got much luckier there, so that's good.
All right, so that's the cards done from the cleric.
Yep. Now the attack's coming into play, so you're absolutely right. So I'm going to block the priest with my trustworthy bartender to protect my power bases. And then I'll activate the ability. So if I call, what do they say? Tails never fails. So if I go with tails.
Okay, so let's see. Can we flip a coin and make it look good? Here we go. So you're going for tails. And I don't know if you can see, but that's heads.
Yeah. Okay, so that means I don't get the additional bonus, but I've already declared him as a defender, so the combat still occurs. And like I said earlier, they've both got 1 power base, so they will kill each other and go to our respective discard piles.
Okay, so they're both gone.
Yeah, so now I get to draw a card.
Draw a card. You get the contract kill.
Nice.
You get to resign a target character.
Yep, so that's it costs you 2/2, but it can wipe out any character, a bit like Alan could earlier. And that's what we call a incident card, because they're coloured blue. Incidents are really good because a lot of them, I'd say 80% of the incident cards in the deck, can be played at any time. So I could wait, keep it secret, keep 2/2, 2 affluence points, 2 influence points in my status, and then wait for you to play something amazing. I could even wait for you to declare it as an attacker, and then I can just instantly wipe it out. And then if I may play my affluence card.
Yep, so we'll put that down there. So we now boost up. So you've got 2 affluence and 2 more influence, taking you up to 2 free.
Yeah, so I need to get some characters again. So I'm going to use my flash money, and I'm going to resign it to gain 2 AP status.
Okay. Now goes up to 4. You're 4 free.
I think I'm going to go with the Vial of Disease.
Ooh. You're just mean, aren't you?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so that's going to cost you 3.
Yep, and what we're going to do here, that will cost me 3, but instead of deploying it to my zone, I'm going to be deploying it to your zone, so that you'll then become the possessor of the card. And this is what we said earlier. So character cards, you can only play on yourself. Any other card from any other card type, so anything that isn't a green card, you can play on anyone. And then all the wording on the cards is always referring to the person who possesses the card.
All right, so I must lose 1 power base at the end of my development phase. But you may give possession of the Vial of Disease to another target player at the beginning of your deployment phase.
Yeah, so that will hit you for 1 damage at the end of your development phase. So that's just after you've added the numbers to your affluence and influence style.
Yes.
Yeah, I passed the turn to you, I think, was the last thing I said.
Yes, I think that's right. So I will draw a card up.
Yep.
I get Walk a New Path. Okay, and so I add my affluence up to 4, my influence up to 3. I now must do this Vial of Disease.
Yes, so now you have a choice. Well, you don't have a choice about the damage, so you will take 1 damage in a faction of your choice.
I'm going to knock 1 off the Illuminati.
Yep, good move. And now you get to choose whether you want to sell the Vial of Disease or pass it on to me.
I am absolutely passing it on to you.
You see? Or what is quite funny is when people are, have been playing a little while and they're either a bit tired or they're not concentrating and they forget to pass it on. That's quite funny, and then they have to suffer it again.
So I'm going to actually play then the Walk a New Life, which is a 1/1. The target player resigns 3 cards from the top of their life pile.
Yep, so you'd play that on me, I'll be the target player, and then I'll just have to take the top 3 cards I would have drawn and you just chuck them straight away.
So 1, 2, 3, and they're gone. Alan the Abductor. So we're going to put him in play there, and that's costing 2/2. So I'm now down to 1/0, and since you don't have any characters out, I guess they're both just going to come on in to do 2 points of damage.
Absolutely. So I get hit for 2. Now I'm in a bit of a pickle, so I'm going to take 1 in crime and 1 in corporate, please.
Okay. It's over to you. I guess we draw a card first.
Yep.
Which you get the Creative Accountant. You don't have any affluence or influence. Now you get to lose 1 power base because of the disease.
I do. Well, actually, technically, I would get the affluence and influence added first to the dial because that happens at the end of your phase.
Yeah, so up to 3, up to 5.
And that can be really important, that distinction, because there may be something I could also do at the end of my development phase to, say, remove a card or pass a card on. And that's why we've been very clear in the game to say that there is a difference between the start, during, or end of a phase. So so now I'm going to take a hit from the Vial of Disease.
And so whom's taking it, crime or corporate?
Let's take it in corporate, please.
Okay, so you're now down to 4 each. Would I be right to assume that you're going to pass it on?
Yeah, go on, have it back.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, there we go.
But I don't want to waste my resources getting rid of it just yet, not until it becomes really dangerous. So that'll stay with you. So I'd like to play my Extort card.
Okay.
Finally. So that's been sitting there sort of looking quite safe for quite some time. Now, last turn, you gained 2 affluence on your turn, but the Extort doesn't take it from you. It just means I gain affluence equal to the amount you gained last turn.
So you're going to gain, was it 2?
Yes, 2. So that'll give me 2 on that, and then we'll chuck that card away because it's been used.
5. So you're 5 each now. You're doing good.
Yep. So what I'm going to do, I'd like to play the Creative Accountant.
Okay, that's a 4 and a 1. Wow, that's quite a...
And then I'm just going to use his ability because I've got 4 in corporate. So I can use his 4+ ability. Now this is an important distinction to make. If a character has 2 abilities with the same number, you can choose which ability to use. If the character has abilities like this character, where they have, in this case, a 2 and a 4, the higher number will always be a better version of an ability, and it's always the one that you can use. So my corporate power base is 4, so I have to use the 4+ ability. I can't choose.
Okay, and so this is target player loses 1 AP status, and you gain 1 AP status.
Yep. So you lose that one you've got.
I'm down to 0. That's rubbish.
Yep.
You're now up to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Some cooking of the books going on here, it would seem.
Exactly. So I'm not going to attack with him because I've used his ability. So I'm not allowed to do that. So I'm just going to pass the turn to you.
Okay. I will draw a card. I get an influence, so I will just play that straight away. And boost up. So I go up to 2 and up to 3. And we got the disease, so I'm going to put my religious down by 1. And I'm going to knock it back to you. It's like ping pong with dangerous substances. Okay, so the enthralled servant. I'm going to put him in play. So he is a 1 and a 2. So what I will actually do is I will put forward all 3 of my characters.
So, now, thankfully for me, there are 2 Illuminati and 1 religious character, so there's no power play being activated, because like I said, you need 3 attacking characters to activate a power play, so that share the same faction. So I'm in a bit of trouble. I think of the 3 characters you got, Alan is the strongest, so I'm going to block Alan with the creative accountant.
Okay.
And that will kill them both dead. And then I'll take 2 damage from the cleric and the enthralled servant, so I'll take 1 in crime and 1 in corporate.
Pascal is just saying, must really congratulate you on a great rule system. This is set up really well. I sense a lot of Magic the Gathering-like influences, and it's working out splendid.
No, thank you very much. And yes, I'm definitely a big Magic the Gathering player. I didn't mention it, but yeah, so I grew up on Magic the Gathering, which is, in its own right, it's a world-beating game, isn't it? I mean, it's huge. It's a whole industry in and of itself, but that doesn't mean it hasn't got problems. And I think what we tried to do with Oligarchy is fix a lot of those problems.
And that now means it is over to you, isn't it?
Yes, please. So let's draw a card.
Okay. You get another substance peddler.
So let's add up my resources. Oh, yeah, add them up first, and then I'm going to take a hit from the vial.
Okay, so you're up to 4 and 6.
I think I could deploy both substance peddlers with 4 and 6.
Okay, 2, 3, 2. Yes, you can indeed. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Now we're in trouble.
Right, now you are in trouble. I'm sending over the boys. They're going to take care of you.
So, prior to that, what we're going to do with the vial of disease? Are you taking a hit on that?
Oh yes, please. Yeah. So the vial will take 1 off my corporate power, please. So you'll see with the substance peddlers, he has a passive ability, which means he can directly attack and target another character, which requires 2 in crime. I've got 3, so I'm okay, I can use that.
Yeah.
Or his other ability, which isn't passive, which is more active, it says I may lose 2 AP status to resign target profession or scenario cards. So professions are quite rare, they're purple cards, so we haven't seen one of those tonight yet. Or a scenario card, which are kind of a salmon pink colour. Scenarios are sort of cards that stay in play and have an ongoing effect, either negative or positive. So the substance peddler is good at removing those, but there aren't any, so there's nothing to target with his abilities. So I'm just thinking I'm probably going to sit back and wait to see if I can get a crime power play, and obviously I'll give you the vial of disease because I can't afford to sell it.
Yes, so that's going to go over to there. You're effectively skipping then the turn, I guess?
Yeah, just the 2 substance peddlers for my deployment, and that's it. And you see earlier where the vial of disease was quite fun and it was just doing 1 or so damage. When that comes back to me next turn, that's going to start making me make some terrible decisions around what power base I have to get it. So what can seem like a really innocuous card at first can suddenly become very, very painful. I want to play them, but I'm not going to attack.
Yeah, right. So they're both out, so that knocks down everything down to 0. Okay, over to me. I will draw a card. I get Lost and Alone. And then let's increase. So I've got 3 on the affluence, 4 on the influence. I'm going to have to lose the power base, so I'll take that off the Illuminati, so that's onto 4, and we'll knock that right back. It really is disease ping pong.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go and get a fundamentalist in play.
Yeah.
I don't like your 2 substance peddlers. I think they're going to cause me problems. And if I don't deal with them now, you're going to deal with me anyway.
Uh-huh.
So I think we'll just rush on in.
Yeah.
Put my 3 coming at you.
And that is the right thing to do, by the way. If you can put the pressure on your opponent, do so. Never hold back in Oligarchy or you will lose. So I'm going to block the Fundamentalist, block the Cleric, and then let the Enthralled Servant through to do 1 damage. So both my Substance Peddlers will die. The Cleric and the Fundamentalist will die in some kind of, I don't know what you call it, religious bar brawl.
Yes, it's very messy.
Yeah, that's it. Drug dealers versus religious leaders. And then I'll take 1 damage, so I'll take that in crime.
Okay.
Try and keep it simple.
Down to 2.
So yeah, I'm assuming that's your turn over.
It is. So let's draw a card up for you. You get the Motivational Speaker.
Oh, I like him. So motivational speaker is really good. He has an ability, corporate 3+, that says I can, instead of attacking with him, I can give a +1 power base boost to another character until the end of the turn. So we'll come to him in a minute. I think what I'm going to do, so if we add up the affluence and influence.
So that's 2, nice and easy.
Yep.
But then you've got your Vial of Disease.
Mm-hmm. Now I really want to sell it. But if I sell it, then I won't be able to afford the contract kill, which is what I'm planning. So I'll have to just take, I'm going to take 1 in corporate. Okay. And I'm on my last legs here, guys. So
yeah,
you do a little, ironically, if you could do a prayer for me.
You're asking the wrong people.
Yes, I am. So that goes over to you. And then what I'm not going to do, because my contract kill is a blue incident card, which means, like I said, 9 out of 10 of those cards will be able to be played in your opponent's turn. I'm not going to instantly kill the Enthralled Servant, because the wording says resign target character.
Yep.
So I'm going to hold on to it until I'm attacked, and then I'll decide which one I kill with it, because it could be that you play a power base 2 character or something I'm not expecting.
That's a good call, yeah. So I assume that's the end of your
yeah,
turn?
And that's me done, yeah.
Okay, I will draw a card up. I get an influence. All right, so I'll play that down. And that goes to 4. This now goes to 6. I've now got to take off a power base. Well, I've got power base to spare here, haven't I? So I'm quite happy just to knock this straight back over to you. I don't want to deal with it.
You're sitting pretty, yeah. So, what, you're on 4 and
4 and 6.
5. 4 and 6.
Yeah. I'm going to play the Illuminati Lodge Leader.
Oh no, I'm in big trouble.
3/3.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play the Religious Guru for 1/2. So
yeah.
We've got 4/6 there. So I'm down to 0.
Perfect. So when the Lodge Leader comes into deployment, he has a passive ability which allows you to put a +1 power base token on any other character. And this is where we talk about the order of the cards being played is important. So you choose which order you want to play them. In the Lodge Leader's case, it's better to play the Guru before the Lodge Leader, just because then you have the Guru as a viable target. So one of those cards you can put a +1 counter on.
So it doesn't really matter too much. I suppose I'd put it on the Guru.
Yeah, I think the Guru's the stronger of the 2 characters, so you want to keep him alive. But unfortunately for me, that's going to be game over, because now you've done that, you've got a combined strength of 4 power base damage, and I can only sustain 3 before I am kaput. So all you have to do is just roll in with the attack.
Yes. Could you not use your contract kill?
I could, and I'm going to. So I would like to please kill the Guru.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. So he's dead.
Yep. out of nowhere.
Shot, yes. The bullet bended round a corner.
That's it.
So you're down to zeros on...
So here, yeah, so now I'm taking 2 damage. Now this is quite an unusual mechanic. It's the last one to explain of the evening, I guess. But the when a faction power base hits 0, you can no longer play cards from your hand that require just that faction. So if I had a card in my hand that needed crime or corporate and had both of them, for example, some of the cards we had earlier on in the game, that's not a problem because I've got 1 point in at least one of those factions. But so here I'm going to take 1 in corporate, please, and 1 in crime, leaving me on 0 corporate and 1 crime.
There we go.
Yep. And then, so now I've taken a risk because what we found in Oligarchy, there's quite a lot of comeback potential. There's been games where I've been down to like 2 power base. My opponent's still been on their starting 12, and then I've turned it around and defeated them. And we found that sometimes games can drag out a little bit. So by putting this mechanic in, we said, okay, you're on your last legs, and this is your last chance. So we like the idea of a last chance saloon. So I've chosen to keep 1 in crime, but I have no idea what I'm going to pick up. So if I pick up a corporate character, I'm doomed. But if I pick up a crime character, I could save the day. It's doable. I've done it before. Unfortunately, though, for those of the people watching, they must realise I'm going to fall to my own vial of disease. So that wasn't the best move, unless, and this is where timing comes into play, unless somewhere between my draw step and the end of my development phase, I can find a card that can remove a item. And there is a card called Smash which can do it. So I'm hoping to draw that.
So I guess it's over to your turn then, and it is drawing this card.
Oh dear, here we go.
And everything's sort of it's based on this.
I bet it's an affluence, just to add insult to injury.
It's a contract kill.
Oh, nice. Okay. So I'll tell you what I'll do then, is I will add up my numbers, spend them immediately,
2,
kill the lodge leader.
So,
and I'm a very spiteful player, so when I'm done, if I'm going down, something's coming with me. So
dead. He's gone.
Yeah.
But I think it's your own vial of disease, isn't it?
The irony.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I'm defeated by my own vial of disease, and that's game, sir. Well played.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was good fun. But yes, the story, I can see now all of these religious leaders saying, he brought something dangerous into the world, and and he got his comeuppance by his own foul hand.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, and that is the fun of the game. It's all about the narrative and.
Great stuff. Is there anything else you want to mention, Gary, before we call it a night?
No, just it's been really, really great this evening. Thanks for the opportunity to get my arse kicked. That was lovely.
Well, thank you for sparing the time to come on this evening. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, no, wonderful. It's been really good.
All right then. Well, thank you so much, Gary. And yes, I look forward to meeting you at the expo in June.
Will do. That's brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone, please do show your appreciation to Gary for coming on this evening. Exclamation clap, exclamation hype. Get some fantastics in there. So there we go. So that was our live playthrough of Oligarchy with designer Gary Wareham. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. I really do think you guys should try and check it out. Hopefully, one of you, of course, is going to be lucky enough to win a copy. But if not, it's well worth picking up from the Entropic Games link on Amazon stores. All right. I shall bid you all farewell then. I hope you have a good evening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. But until then, bye-bye for now.